The observation deck offered a panoramic view of the battle, but Admiral Ta watched with growing despair as another Alliance cruiser erupted into flames. The Void Collective's ships moved with mechanical precision, their black hulls absorbing weapon fire as they systematically dismantled the Alliance fleet. "We've lost the 7th quadrant," reported Commander Bin, her voice tight. "Casualties at 60% and rising." Admiral Ta's four-fingered hand clenched around the command rail. The Galactic Alliance had stood for 12,000 years, uniting hundreds of species across 3 spiral arms. Now, after just 2 years of conflict with the Void Collective, their territory had been reduced by half. "Order a tactical retreat," he said finally. "We cannot afford more losses today." The ships turned away, their engines flaring as they fled the battlefield. Admiral Ta watched the enemy vessels. They did not pursue. They never pursued. They simply moved to the next target with cold efficiency. "They don't even enjoy their victories," he muttered. Back at Alliance headquarters, the mood was grim. The great circular chamber, once filled with representatives from over 200 worlds, now held barely 30 species. Many seats remained empty, monuments to civilizations already lost to the void. "This is our 4th major defeat this month," said Counselor Han. The elderly Pelfian's skin glowed with stress patterns, shifting from blue to deep purple. "Our best ships and weapons mean nothing against them." "The void adapts too quickly," said Admiral Ta. "Whatever we try, they counter it within days." The debate stretched for hours. Some wanted to sue for peace. Others insisted on fighting to the last ship. A few suggested hiding in the uncharted regions beyond the rim. It was Counselor Han who finally said what many had been thinking, but none dared suggest. "There is one option we haven't considered," he said carefully. "A species that might help us." "You mean the humans," said Admiral Tai, his voice flat. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some counselors looked confused. Others looked afraid. "Humans?" asked a reptilian delegate. "The Deathworlders from the Outer Rim." "Yes," said Han, "the ones from Earth." Most delegates knew humans only from scientific reports. Earth was classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that most civilized species would die within minutes of exposure to its environment. High gravity, toxic oxygen levels, extreme temperature variations, and lethal radiation from its sun. "They're barely space-capable," objected Counselor Jia, her antennae quivering. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." "They're also the only species in our records that has never lost a war to a technologically superior enemy," said Han. "They adapt faster than any species we've encountered." "They're dangerous," said Jia. "Did you know they evolved as pursuit predators? They chase their prey until it collapses from exhaustion." "Perhaps we need dangerous," replied Han. "The void certainly is." Admiral Tai studied the tactical displays. Alliance territory, once spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, had shrunk to a handful of core systems. Resources were dwindling. Morale was collapsing. "What makes you think they would help us?" he asked. "We've deliberately avoided contact with their world." "Because humans are curious," said Han. "They've been sending signals into space for centuries, hoping someone would answer. And because we can offer them technology that won't develop on their own for generations." The council argued long into the night. Some feared bringing humans into galactic society. Others saw no choice. In the end, desperation won out. "We will send an envoy to Earth," declared the High Counselor. "Ambassador Sun, you will represent the Alliance." Ambassador Sun, a slender humanoid with silvery skin, bowed deeply. "I am honored, though I must note the danger. Earth's gravity is nearly twice what I'm accustomed to. Its atmosphere contains corrosive elements." "You'll be provided with an environmental suit," said Admiral Ta, "and medical support." 3 days later, Sun stood on the landing pad as technicians prepared her ship for the journey. Admiral Tai approached, looking tired. "If the humans agree to help," he said, "how do we integrate them into our forces? They won't understand our tactics, our technology." "Perhaps that's exactly what we need," said Sun. "The Void understands our tactics too well. We need someone unpredictable." The small diplomatic vessel lifted off, accelerating toward the jump point that would take it to the isolated world called Earth. On board, Ambassador Sun reviewed everything known about humans. They were physically robust, with remarkable endurance. They contained metals in their blood. They consumed both plants and animals. They lived short lives, barely a century, yet accomplished much in that time. Most intriguingly, they had a concept called hope that seemed to drive them forward against impossible odds. As her ship entered the jump point, Sun whispered to herself, "Let's hope they have enough to share." Ambassador Sun felt the crushing weight of Earth's gravity as she took her first steps onto the planet's surface. Even with her environmental suit, the pressure was uncomfortable. The air would have burned her lungs without protection. How did humans survive here every day? The landing site was a flat concrete area surrounded by high metal fences. Human security vehicles formed a perimeter, their weapons visible but not aimed at the visitors. Beyond them stood a crowd of human journalists and curious onlookers, held back by soldiers. "Their first alien contact, and they send a military escort," muttered Sun's aide. "Typical of a predator species, or typical of anyone meeting the unknown," Sun replied. A small group of humans approached the ship. Sun recognized their leader from the briefing materials, General Kang, commander of Earth's United Defense Forces. The human was shorter than Sun expected, with dark hair cut close to her head and a face that revealed little emotion. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador," said General Kang. Her voice was translated through Sun's suit systems. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Thank you, General," replied Sun, attempting the human gesture of bowing slightly. "Your world is intense but fascinating." "It's home," Kang said with a small smile. "Your message mentioned an urgent threat to galactic security. My superiors are eager to hear more." They moved to a nearby building where Earth's military and political leaders waited. Sun noticed how differently humans moved compared to most Alliance species, efficiently, purposefully, always conserving energy. Inside the conference room, Sun connected her data systems to the human displays. The room darkened as a three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, showing Alliance territory in blue and Void collective conquests in red. The red area covered nearly half the map. 2 years ago, the Void collective emerged from the galactic core, Sun explained. "We don't know if they evolved there or came from somewhere else. They attack any world with technology, absorb its resources, and move on." She played recordings of battles, showing Alliance ships being systematically destroyed by the Black Void vessels. "Our weapons hurt them," she continued, "but they adapt quickly. Whatever works once rarely works twice. We've lost over 100 worlds so far." "Why come to Earth?" asked the human leader. "We've barely reached our own moon. Our technology is primitive compared to yours." "Because you're different," said Sun. "The Void understands how my people think, how most advanced species think. We build better technology. We follow proven tactics. We rely on superior firepower. And when that fails," asked General Kang, "we try more of the same, just better," admitted Sun. "It's not working." Over the next 3 days, Sun met with Earth's various nations and military commanders. She showed them more battles, more lost worlds. She displayed Alliance technology that seemed like magic to the humans. Energy shields, faster than light travel, matter conversion. "All this could be shared with Earth," she explained, "in exchange for your help." On the 3rd day, General Kang requested a private meeting with Sun. They walked through a garden outside the military complex. Sun noticed how the general studied everything, missing nothing. "Why humans specifically?" Kang asked bluntly. "There must be thousands of species in the galaxy more advanced than us." Sun considered her answer carefully. The truth might offend, but lies would get them nowhere. "2 reasons," she said finally. "First, you evolved on a world that tried to kill you every day. You're physically stronger than most Alliance species and can survive conditions that would kill us. Second, and more importantly, you think differently. How so? When a human commander faces a superior enemy, what do? Change tactics. Kang replied. Find a weakness, use the environment, hit and run if necessary. Exactly. Most advanced species rely on proven approaches. They calculate odds and follow protocols. The Void understands this. Humans are unpredictable. You take risks. You improvise. Kang stopped walking and faced the alien diplomat directly. You want cannon fodder? No, Sun said firmly. If we wanted that, we'd use drones or clones. We want your minds, your creativity, your ability to find solutions where we see only problems. The human was silent for a long moment, then nodded. I'll recommend participation to my superiors. Earth's response came just days later, surprising Sun with its speed. They would send 5,000 personnel, soldiers, engineers, scientists, and tacticians, with General Kang in command. 2 weeks after first landing, Sun stood on the same concrete pad watching humans board her ship. They carried minimal personal items but extensive equipment. Some looked nervous, others excited. Most looked determined. General Kang approached, now wearing an Alliance environmental suit modified for human needs. My people are ready, she said. But understand this isn't charity. When this war ends, Earth expects a permanent place in your Alliance. Equal membership, full technology sharing, protection from any hostile species. Sun nodded. If we win, you'll have earned it. No, Kang corrected her. Not if. When. Sun detected no arrogance in the human's voice, only absolute conviction. For the first time since the war began, she felt something close to hope. The tension in the command center was thick enough to cut with a knife. Alliance officers stood on one side, humans on the other. In the middle, Admiral Tai and General Kang faced each other across the holographic display showing the Helios system. This is suicide, Admiral Ta said, pointing at the battle plan General Kang had presented. You want to split our forces, attack from multiple vectors at once. Our coordination would collapse. The Alliance flagship hummed quietly around them. Through the viewports, stars shone against the blackness of space. The human contingent had been aboard for just 2 weeks, but they had already turned everything upside down. Your coordination is exactly what the enemy expects, Kang replied calmly. They've learned your patterns. They know you'll commit forces based on mathematical probabilities. Because that's rational warfare, Tai countered, his 4 fingers spreading in frustration. We minimize casualties by using optimal force distribution. No, that's predictable warfare, said Lieutenant Choi, a stocky human tactical officer with a quiet voice that somehow carried across the room. And predictable means defeatable. Other officers shifted uncomfortably. The humans had been like this since their arrival, questioning everything, challenging procedures that had been standard for centuries. They showed respect, but they were relentless. Commander Bin, who had worked closely with the humans, stepped forward. Her silver uniform contrasted with her blue skin as she addressed Admiral Ta. Perhaps we could test the human approach on a limited scale, she suggested. The mining outpost at Helios 9 was captured last month. It's valuable, but not critical. Admiral Ta looked around the room. Alliance officers avoided his gaze. The humans watched intently, their denser bodies seeming to pull the gravity of the room toward them. Very well, he said finally. One operation. If it fails, we return to established protocols. The planning took 3 days. The humans wanted to know everything about Helios 9. Not just its defenses, but its weather patterns, radiation cycles, gravitational anomalies, even the composition of its dust clouds. Why do you need to know about the dust? Asked an Alliance engineer. We always avoid those regions. They interfere with sensors and navigation. Exactly, said a human named Captain One. That makes them perfect for hiding. On the day of the raid, Admiral Todd watched from the command ship as the small fleet approached the Helios system. 4 ships, carrying mostly human troops but with Alliance personnel integrated into each unit. General Kang had remained behind, saying the mission commander should be allowed to lead without interference. "First test of your unpredictable tactics," Ta said to Lieutenant Choi, who stood beside him on the bridge. "The goal isn't to be random," Choi explained. "It's to present the enemy with too many problems to solve at once." As they reached the outer system, the 4 ships suddenly split apart, each taking a different approach vector. One dove into the dust cloud that encircled the system. Another powered down almost completely, going dark and cold. A third accelerated to maximum speed, aiming directly at the mining outpost. The 4th disappeared into a radiation belt that Alliance ships never entered. "They'll be detected," muttered Ta. "The Void has sensor arrays throughout the system." "We're counting on it," said Choi. "They'll detect some of us, but not all. And they won't know which threat to prioritize." What followed was unlike any battle Ta had witnessed in his long career. The Void ships moved to intercept the incoming vessel, ignoring the others as minor threats. Meanwhile, the ship in the dust cloud was launching small craft that used the particles to mask their approach. The ship in the radiation belt was deploying specially shielded fighters. The dark, unpowered vessel was drifting toward the outpost's blind spot. "Communication is being jammed," reported an Alliance officer. "We're losing contact with the ground teams." "That's expected," said Choi calmly. "They'll continue the mission regardless." Without orders, Todd was shocked. How will they coordinate? Each unit has clear objectives. How they achieve them is up to the officers on the ground. 3 hours later, the outpost was secure. The Void ships had been destroyed or driven off. Alliance and human forces had suffered minimal casualties. The mining facility was damaged but intact. During the debriefing, Ta listened in amazement as the mission commanders described how they had adapted to changing conditions. "When we lost communications, Squad 3 diverted to take out the jamming station instead of their original target," explained Captain 1. "It wasn't in the plan, but they saw an opportunity and took it." "Your soldiers made independent decisions?" Ta asked incredulously, "without consulting command?" "We call it commander's intent," Lieutenant Choi explained. "Each soldier understands the mission's objective and is trusted to achieve it however necessary. Rigid orders don't survive contact with the enemy." Over the next weeks, more operations followed, each more successful than the last. Human officers began training Alliance troops in their methods. They taught them to use terrain features as advantages, to employ deception and misdirection, to think creatively when plans failed. "You must understand," General Kang told a group of Alliance commanders. "Technology doesn't win wars. People win wars. Smart, adaptable people who can think for themselves." Admiral Ta watched as his forces began to change. They became more flexible, more resilient. They learned to see opportunities where before they had only seen obstacles. "Perhaps," he told Commander Bin privately, "these humans are exactly what we needed." The Scarlet Nebula glowed like a wound in space, its gases swirling in violent crimson patterns. For centuries, Alliance ships avoided it. The radiation disrupted shields. The magnetic fields played havoc with navigation. The dense gas clouds could strip a ship's hull in hours, which is exactly why General Kang chose it as their attack route. "They never expected us to attack through the nebula," said Commander Bin, now serving as liaison between Alliance and human forces. Her blue skin had darkened from stress, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "The Void Collective lost 3 destroyer groups before they even realized we were there." General Kang nodded, studying the holographic display showing Alliance territory slowly expanding again. 6 months of hit-and-run operations had gradually shifted momentum, but the cost had been high. 23 ships lost, over 2,000 Alliance personnel dead, 400 humans. "What about the modifications to the particle cannons?" she asked. "Complete on 40% of the fleet," replied Engineer Park, who had become legendary among Alliance technicians. The slender human rarely slept, working tirelessly to upgrade Alliance weapons. His team had repurposed technology in ways their designers never intended, creating unpredictable energy signatures that penetrated void defenses. The rest will be done within 2 weeks, Park continued. And we've started implementing the shield resonance improvements too. Kang turned to Admiral Tai, who now accepted her as an equal partner in strategy. The Karthus Straits next. The Void has been moving forces there. Tai nodded. Their supply lines run through that sector. If we cut them off, they'll be forced to either retreat or fight at a disadvantage, finished Kang. Either way, we win. The greatest human contribution to the war effort wasn't their technology improvements, though those helped. It was a completely different way of thinking. Humans approached each battle as a unique problem, not as an equation to be solved with established formulas. They embraced chaos rather than trying to control it. They found advantages and disadvantages. Commander Bin had explained it to a group of Alliance officers. On Earth, we have a game called chess. Both players begin with identical pieces in identical positions. Both know all the rules. Yet humans can play this game for their entire lives and never exhaust its possibilities. The human approach spread through the Alliance forces. Ships began to operate more independently. Officers took initiatives that would have been considered insubordination 6 months earlier. Each victory, however small, built confidence. The battle for the Karthus Straits proved to be the turning point. The Void Collective had established a major supply depot there, protected by automated defense platforms and a full battle group. Alliance intelligence estimated that a direct assault would cost half the fleet. So they didn't launch a direct assault. Instead, General Kang devised what humans called a shell game, multiple simultaneous operations designed to confuse and divide enemy forces. Some ships attacked nearby systems as distractions. Others posed as damaged vessels, drifting into the defensive perimeter. The main assault came from an unexpected direction, led by ships modified to mimic void energy signatures. When it was over, the Void had lost control of a key strategic location with minimal Alliance casualties. That evening, Admiral Tai sought out General Kang in the officers' lounge. The room was nearly empty, most personnel having gone to celebrate or rest. Kang sat alone, studying reports on a datapad. "May I join you?" asked Ta. Kang looked up and nodded. For months they had worked together, but there remained a distance between them. Not hostility, but caution on both sides. "I owe you an apology," Ta said as he sat down. "When your people first arrived, I doubted you. I thought humans were too unpredictable, too aggressive to integrate with our forces." Kang set down her datapad. "Many of your officers felt the same. It was a reasonable concern. Nevertheless, I was wrong. Your tactics have proven effective beyond my most optimistic projections. We are unpredictable and aggressive," Kang replied with a slight smile. "That's why we're winning." Todd poured 2 drinks from a bottle on the table, a human beverage called whiskey that had become popular among Alliance officers. "I've been studying your species more closely. Your history is troubling. You've fought so many wars against each other." "Yes," Kang acknowledged, "more than we're proud of. Yet that history gave you the skills to fight this war." The Void never encountered a species that had studied warfare so extensively. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, sipping their drinks. Through the viewport, they could see ships being repaired, resupplied, and upgraded. Alliance and human personnel worked side by side. "Tomorrow we begin planning the next phase," said Ta. "The push toward the core systems. The hardest part is still ahead," Kang warned. "The Void will adapt. They always do." "So will we," said Todd with newfound confidence. "That's what we've learned from humans. Adaptation isn't just about technology. It's about thinking differently when circumstances change." Kang raised her glass in a toast. "To thinking differently." Tay touched his glass to hers. "And to unlikely allies." As they drank, a call came through on the command channel. A void counterattack had been detected in the Maris sector. Their forces were gathering for what appeared to be a major offensive. The war was far from over, but for the first time, the Alliance wasn't fighting to delay defeat. They were fighting to win. The skies above New Harmony blazed with fire as the battle raged. Thousands of ships, Alliance defenders and void attackers, clashed in the darkness of space. On the planet below, citizens watched with fear as flashes of light marked the deaths of ships and crews. In the command center deep beneath the capital city, alarms screamed warnings. Officers rushed between stations. Display screens showed defensive lines breaking. "They've adapted to our tactics," Lieutenant Choi reported grimly. The young human tactical officer had lost weight during the year-long campaign. His uniform hung loosely on his frame, but his eyes remained sharp. "They're jamming our communications and targeting our command ships specifically." Admiral Tai and General Kang stood side by side at the central holographic display. Red dots representing void ships pushed steadily toward the blue sphere of New Harmony. The first defensive line had already collapsed. "Without communications, our coordinated defense is impossible," Ta said. His four-fingered hands moved through the display, trying to reposition ships that could no longer hear his orders. "Then we stop coordinating," Kang replied, "and start adapting." She turned to her staff. "Transmit final objective to all ships, then go to communication silence. Tell each captain they're on their own. Mission parameters are to protect the capital and destroy the void command structure by any means necessary." "But how will they know what to do without central command?" asked an Alliance officer. "They'll do what needs to be done," Kang said firmly. "Every captain knows the stakes." The message went out. Then, one by one, the communication links went silent as ships acknowledged and cut contact to prevent void forces from tracking their signals. What followed was unlike any battle in Alliance history. Without central coordination, each ship fought independently. Frigates that normally operated in strict formations now moved unpredictably. Cruisers changed speed and direction randomly. Fighter squadrons broke into pairs and singles, attacking from multiple vectors simultaneously. The Void Collective, used to countering organized battle plans, found itself facing hundreds of separate battles instead of one large one. Their hive minds struggled to prioritize threats when every Alliance ship behaved differently. Human soldiers showed their unique value in this chaos. Their bodies, evolved on a high-gravity world, withstood acceleration forces that would kill most Alliance species. Small assault teams used this advantage to board void vessels in daring raids, bypassing shields entirely. In the command center, Kang studied the largest void ship, a massive black structure at the center of the enemy fleet. "That's their command node," she said. "If we can disrupt it, their coordination will suffer." "The defensive screen is too strong," said Admiral Ta. "No ship can get close enough." "We don't need a ship," Kang replied. "We need a small team in a shuttlecraft. I'll lead it myself." Ta looked shocked. "You're the overall commander. You can't." "That's exactly why I must," Kang interrupted. "This is our one chance to end this war." Before Tai could argue further, Kang had assembled a team, 3 humans and 2 Alliance soldiers with combat experience. They boarded a modified shuttle designed for stealth operations. "We'll approach during the next solar flare," Kang explained as they prepared. "The radiation will mask our signature and temporarily disrupt their sensors." As the shuttle launched, the battle reached its peak intensity. Alliance ships were fighting with desperate courage, but they were outnumbered. The void pressed closer to New Harmony with each passing hour. Kang's shuttle rode the wave of a solar flare, the radiation shields barely holding as they approached the void flagship. For a brief moment, a gap appeared in the defensive screen, either by chance or because the ship was diverting power elsewhere. "Now," ordered Kang, and the pilot sent the shuttle through the gap at maximum speed. They landed on the hull, magnetic clamps securing the small craft to the black surface. Using special cutting tools, they breached the outer shell and entered the massive ship. What they found inside was unlike anything they had seen before. The void ships had no crews as such, only a central intelligence core connected to mechanical systems. The team fought their way through automated defenses, losing 2 members before reaching the central chamber. Kang placed explosive charges at key points around the intelligence core. As they prepared to retreat, she noticed something strange in the patterns of light flowing through the core. "It's beautiful, in its way," she said quietly. "But it doesn't understand life. That's why it can't beat us." They escaped just as the charges detonated. The effect rippled outward through the void fleet. Ships that had moved with perfect coordination now drifted aimlessly or fired at random targets. The Alliance quickly seized the advantage. Within hours, the remaining void ships were retreating or destroyed. 3 days later, in the damaged but intact Grand Chamber of New Harmony, the Alliance Council convened to formally recognize Earth's membership in the Galactic Alliance. The room was packed with representatives from all surviving member worlds. "We faced extinction," declared Councillor Han, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The battle seemed lost, so we called in humans. They didn't just save us, they reminded us what it means to fight for survival." General Kang stood uncomfortably as the chamber erupted in applause. She wore a formal uniform, a new medal gleaming on her chest. Around her, human soldiers and officers looked equally uncomfortable with the attention. After the ceremony, Ambassador Sun approached Kang at the reception. The silver-skinned diplomat had become a friend over the past year. "Your species will change everything," she said. "The galaxy will never be the same." Kang looked out through the grand windows at the stars beyond, stars that would now be open to human exploration. "Good," she replied. "It needed changing." That night, as celebration continued across New Harmony, Kang stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. Admiral Ta joined her, carrying 2 glasses of human whiskey. "To victory," he said, offering her a glass. "To peace," she corrected, taking it. They drank in silence, watching the lights of the city below and the stars above. The war was over, but Kang knew this was just the beginning. Humans had joined the galactic community. They would bring their strengths and their flaws, their creativity and their aggression. The galaxy would indeed never be the same. The end.